Bank decides they won't cash and then deposit my checks anymore. I've had the same bank for over 15 years, and it's worth noting that the two businesses my family has me manage holds accounts at this bank. I basically work for myself, and it's a very seasonal job. So at the start of the season, after a mostly dormant winter, cash flow isn't that great. I usually hold a few of my paychecks in the business as things ramp up to help cover restocking after our slow winter. I cash out before payroll is due each quarter so as to not mess up things for accounting. This means when I do write myself a check during the slow months, it's because I need to cover something, usually the day of. When I deposit a check, $100 of it goes into my account immediately and the rest goes in at midnight. Now, I've learned in the past they will pull any and all transactions they can prior to depositing the money, and this has on more than one occasion caused me to be charged insufficient fund fees or transfer fees from my overdraft accounts. It's a crappy practice, but I have found the workaround. I would cash my checks and then deposit the cash, and it would all go in immediately. Problem solved. That was until 2 weeks ago when I went in to deposit my check, filled out the deposit slip as depositing cash, and waited in line for the next teller. I get called up by the teller I've never met and request to have my check cashed and then deposited. I didn't need the funds to go in immediately as we were out of the slow season, but I have gotten into the habit as I'm not a fan of their policy. I get told that they are no longer allowed to do it. I've been told this before by new tellers, and once they ask around, another teller that's been there a while and knows me will usually give it the go-ahead to do it. It is coming from one account held at their bank and going into another, so they can see the funds are there. Not anymore. That's when I learned they have decided to more strictly enforce a rule that up to this point I've been allowed to work around. It sucks, but as I say, I didn't need the money that day, so I just deposited it. This did not sit well with me, so I went home and did some research. Turns out that my bank has two types of ATMs, some that require an envelope for a cash deposit, some that take cash directly. The envelope-free ATMs have the added bonus of being able to, if deposited before 6 p.m., have the funds available immediately. Cue malicious compliance. I head in there this week to deposit another check, fill out my deposit slip for a cash deposit, and wait in line. When I get called up, it's a teller that has been there for at least 5 years and I have a working relationship with. I mention the new updated policy to verify it is true, and she confirms apologetically. I then ask about their ATM outside and whether it requires an envelope or is envelope-free. I then ask her what stops me from cashing my check inside the branch and then walking outside to deposit the cash into the ATM so it can be available immediately. She looks at me with a blank stare. Me. So I can cash this check inside, walk outside and deposit the cash into the ATM, and will effectively be doing the same thing I've been doing for years, just with extra steps. Teller, yes. Me, I would like to cash this check, please. She takes the check and starts the process. A few moments later, she looks over at another teller that has been there just as long, if not longer, and asks, "Is this one of the instances I can use my better judgment?" Other teller, "I think so." Teller, "We are going to say this is a gray area and just cash and deposit it like before." Me, "Then this should speed things up," as I hand her the deposit slip I had filled out earlier for cash. That was Monday, and I still smile every time I think about it. Nicely played. Now let's jump right out of this and into another bank malicious compliance. Bank won't make change? I close my account instead. This happened a few years ago. I was working at a large national chain restaurant as a manager. I was asked to temporarily realign to a location in a city about an hour away, and accepted. They put me in a hotel, the whole 9 yards. The first weekend I was there, I discovered that the GM had screwed up and not ordered any change, small bills/rolls of coins, for the safe, and that the local branch of our bank would be closing in the next hour. I also happened to have a personal account at the same bank. and had, in the past, gone and gotten change from the branch back home. Since time was tight, I quickly looked up the address of the bank, grabbed $800 and jumped into my car. I get to the bank, wait in line, and then ask them to make change. $400 in $5 bills, $300 in $1 bills, and $100 in assorted rolled coins. The teller tells me that the bank doesn't make change. Me, thinking it was because they didn't know me, informed her that our restaurant had an account she could look up. She then told me, "No, we don't make change at all." The thought going through my brain was, WTF, you're a bank. I tried explaining the situation, but was quickly shot down. I left, went back to my car, then had an idea. I went back inside the bank with my personal checkbook, got to the front of the line, and, luckily, the same teller, before she could even greet me, I held out my checkbook and told her I would like to close this account, since this bank is no longer customer service oriented. She kind of rolled her eyes, but went about my request. Then she asked how I wanted my cash back, an automated response, I'm sure, and one I was counting on. I said, $400 in $5 bills, $300 in $1 bills, $70 in rolled quarters, $25 in rolled dimes, $4 in rolled nickels, and $1 in rolled pennies. The rest can be on a cashier's check. No reason for her to deny it, so I got my change. And the following Monday, I returned, closed out the other 2 accounts I had there, and opened accounts at a different bank, where I have been banking ever since. I don't know, that one just sounds like you shot yourself in the foot more than anything. But hey, as long as you're happy, I guess. Enjoy. She wanted to complain to the manager's boss. My first post and on mobile. Please forgive my errors. While in high school, I worked at a family-owned franchise of a national chain restaurant as a busboy, dishwasher, cook, and host. Occasionally, the general and assistant manager would both need the same day off, and the owner's adult children would take turns filling in as manager. They were all young, youngest being 18 and the oldest being mid-20s, but polite, hardworking, and smart. This happened on one of those days. They had one of those all-you-can-eat buffets as an option for lunch one day. I heard a lady complaining to the oldest son, who was acting manager that day, that the buffet was horrible. She couldn't eat it and didn't want to pay. She was being loud and swearing at him. So I said, "Ma'am, you went to the buffet 4 times, and I cleared 4 empty plates off your table." The manager told her that he would not remove the charge from her bill as she had eaten multiple helpings and didn't complain until it was time to pay. She went apoplectic and demanded to speak to the manager. When he told her that he was the manager, she demanded to speak to his boss and that she would have his job. He pulled out his cell phone, dialed a number, and when the call connected, said loud enough for the customer to hear, "Mom, this lady wants you to fire me," and then held the phone out to the customer. He didn't get fired and that customer did not come back, but she did pay. You know what's funny? As she was leaving, she probably said something along the lines of, "This place is horrible, I'll never come back to this establishment." As if their business needed her mooching ass to come back and try and steal some more free food. You want a free drink? I can hook you up. On military bases, there's usually a place that the NCMs, non-commissioned members, can go to unwind, drink, and lament about the previous day's crap kickings. This place is called Junior Ranks Mess, or JRs for short, and it's where the shenanigans of most enlisted men and women shrine through. I've got one such story that still makes me, and anyone I tell it to, chuckle. After a hard day's work of on the bus, off the bus, army bullcrap, me and some friends sat around the bar and retold our days over a pint of Keith's finest. Sometime after my first glass, a guy came up to us and started begging us to hook him up with a drink. His exact words were, "Can somebody get this thirsty private a tall drink?" He kept asking people around the bar the exact question in different ways, but always using the word drink. Eventually, the bartender noticed the private annoying her patrons with his begging and ushered him over. She asked if he'd like a drink on the house, as they'd recently got a bulk shipment in, and management didn't care how she got rid of it. His eyes lit up like a kid on Christmas morning and eagerly accepted her offer. The coy bartender smirked, said she'd be just a minute, and walked into the back. As she got him his drink, he gloated about how it's done, and everyone who witnessed it cursed his luck. When the bartender came back, all of that changed. She plucked down in front of the begging private a tall pint glass of the finest liquor known to mankind, water. She said with the largest grin I've ever seen anyone sport, "On the house, I know you boys work hard in the heat all day, and I don't want you getting dehydrated, so I got you a big glass." She sealed it with a wink, and at that moment, the bar erupted with drunken laughter. The private turned beet red before doing a 180 rotation and promptly exiting JR's. Haven't seen him back in since. Man, we are quickly plummeting into choosing beggar territory with these last two stories. 2 stories in a row of people wanting free stuff at restaurants? Well, at least these crappy people make for good stories. Alrighty guys, that's gonna wrap it up for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. Also, had a couple people talking about the camera and the audio at the end of my videos having a little desyncing issues. I think I figured out the problem lies in OBS. I'm just gonna have to figure out how to fix it exactly, so I'll be looking into that a bit, and if you have any suggestions, let me know in the comments. Anyways, I'll see you guys in the next one. If you're new around here and you liked it, consider subscribing. And if you really liked it, maybe give it a thumbs up and a share. Anyways, see you next time. Peace out.